Hello, everybody. This is Conversation with the Browns. I'm Mr. Brown.
I'm Mrs. Brown.
What's your first name?
Andrea.
Because my first name is Mr., so I think we should be on a first name basis around here.
I know, but everybody remembers you, and I'm just trying to make life easy on you.
Well, you're Andrea Brown, my beautiful wife. And this is our new podcast. We've done some podcasts in the past, but this is about conversations. And it happened because we have some amazing conversations in our kitchen, in our living room, in the bathroom. And we want to share some of those conversations. So this will be a podcast where we share some of our conversations, but also invite other people into a conversation about all types of topics, whether it be parenting, whether it be new recipes, maybe not, but even cultural issues. And right now we're in the middle of a pandemic and also dealing with a lot of protest and riots and a lot of talk about racism. So we want to enter that realm, but we want to do it in a conversation style.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe I just need to clarify. You said we have a lot of awesome conversations, and that is true. The reason, maybe that I've been hesitant to do this in the past is that does not mean that we agree and that we don't always agree. They're awesome partly because we are very different people, and sometimes they're very hard.
Well, when you don't agree, it's because you're wrong. That's why you don't agree.
That's why we need to do this publicly so that we'll both be nice.
We'll both be nice. No, really. And
have a record of who said what.
And I think that's the whole idea, because like we said in the episode we already recorded, which we'll release later, that there's a lot of declarations out there, but not a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
And so we want to help people have conversations. So this podcast, we'll talk about different topics. We'll have different people on the show to have conversations, not necessarily interview style, but we do want to hear people's stories. I think that's one of the important things, hearing people's stories, because sometimes we can paint with a broad brush. Everybody is this way, but we don't hear people's individual stories. And so if we're trying to make a masterpiece, you're not using a broad brush. You're using detailed instruments to make those beautiful pieces of artwork.
I mean, there's some with broad brushes too, but I get your point.
Yeah, use a little bit of both. And so, like I said, this will be on our podcast. You can find us on iTunes and Google Play Store, all those places you can find your podcast, and on YouTube. But I'm intentionally not looking at the camera, which is hard for me because I make a lot of videos. And so
it is so easy for me. This is all easier if I just
pretend the camera's there. But you can watch it, but it'll just be us talking. It won't be me looking at the camera too much. I just pointed to the camera because I just did that. But I want you to kind of explain a little bit, because I heard the quote from you, and we want to engage people in this conversation, that it's not just us talking and you listening and consuming, but we want you to go ahead and create. What do we want them to create?
Create more than we consume.
Yeah, create more than you said that to me one day. I never forgot it.
Yeah, I probably should have prepared better for this. Well, this is just a conversation. We don't prepare for conversation.
Well, somewhat.
So I'm going to try to come prepared if I knew you were asking that question. So I'm sure that the credit belongs to somebody else. And if I figure out who it is, we will link them or something.
All right.
But yeah, somebody somewhere talked about, and maybe that's like my own version of it, but the importance of creating more than we consume. I think what we've talked about that a lot, and I think about it a lot with our kids, because internet and TV and all the things, all the devices. And I think part of the problem is this technology is moving faster than we can adjust and figure out when the tools, we call them tools, but often they end up using us because it's hard to keep up. And so one of the things that has just been helpful for me is to try to find a space that works for us in all of that. Is not that we need to shut off everything, and I guess I care about it because I grew up in a house where when everybody was watching TV, we had no TV in our house at all. So wanting to engage, but also kind of set limits. And so that was just super helpful for me, the idea of wanting to create more than we consume. And I think that there's so much that is useful and really helpful that's available online, and even just as entertainment, but to put it in its right place.
Right. And so not just consuming it, but also creating something of your own. And so you're doing that with our kids. So if we watch something, we want to try to do what they did, some experiment or something. But also with this, we specifically want people to get in groups and have conversations. Conversation with your neighbors, conversation with your families about these type of topics. So we want to invite you to visit our website, hellomrbrown.com. No, lifewiththebrowns.com. Visit our website, lifewiththebrowns.com. You can visit hellomrbrown.com if you want to, but you won't find this. Yeah, you can visit them all. But on there, we'll have a little, not a survey, but like 3 questions and 3 ways to engage. You can submit them to us or you can use them yourselves, but we want to get more questions from you. You got a question about anything, whether it's about race relations, and we've received some already, and we have some to have conversations about. Do you have a comment that you say, what about this comment? Let's think about this thought or topic that you want to discuss. And that can be a broader topic. But I think it's important to not just make declarations, because some of those declarations now are becoming accusations. And let's have some conversation with our neighbors, because I think if we talk with our neighbors and our community, we can change the nation, and we can have a better nation because we've had those conversations. So that's the focus of Conversations with the Browns.
Yeah. And part of the reason I think that that's so helpful is it seems like the way that social media and much of the internet is set up, that it's set up for putting out content and making statements. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, you've got your page and you make your posts and I think just the way that it is set up, you, in a normal conversation, you express a thought that isn't really even complete. And part of what completes it is that you, even if it's just a nod and I'm listening to you, you get response from people. And just the fact that even if you're having a conversation, in air quotes, on Twitter or on Facebook, there's even just the fact that there's this delay between those things that it makes it really tricky, and it's not the same. And so I think, especially when you're talking about something that you need more nuance and more perspective on, it makes it really hard when we don't have a lot of ways of sharing in a conversation. And it's just hard to do online. And this is still, a podcast isn't still not the best way would be to invite all of the friends to our dinner table. But we're trying to maybe find an in-between way. We can't invite the entire internet to our dining room table. Honestly, I just don't want to do that. But what we can do is share the conversations that we're having, ask people to share their thoughts, and bring in, a few friends and be able to share that with a wider group of people, because we do not by any means think that we have everything figured out. That's why the conversations are important, and why we keep having them, because we have a lot of difference of opinion.
I'm right most of the time and you're wrong.
See, this right here is the problem.
I'm totally joking, because normally you're right and I'm wrong. That's the only way I can joke about that. But you're right, and we want to invite you in the conversation. So thanks for joining us, and continue to subscribe. Subscribe to iTunes, like I mentioned, or Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you find your podcast. And you can also visit our website, or our website, lifewiththebrowns.com, and you can watch this on YouTube. But again, I'm trying to look at the camera. I'm trying my best. So thanks for joining us.
They will know. You can talk, you can look at the camera.
I know, but it'll help me to focus on just the conversation and not
focus on me.
Yeah. Hey. I love focusing on you. So.
That got weird.
Yeah, it did. Well, not for me. If they saw my face, So let me just say this real quick before we go. That's the other thing about having conversations. When you try to communicate on Twitter, or you don't have a lot of time, you don't see the facial expressions and nonverbals. And so we want to add some of that, and we want you to really to be able to get in groups or get into your home and talk about these topics in a polite way. Maybe we should call it honest, respectful conversation with the Browns. I don't know, but we want to model that, what that will look like. So thanks for joining us again, and I hope you join us for the next episode. Actually, our first episode. This is the intro episode. Stay tuned for our first episode of Conversations with the Browns.
All right.